I'm an artist who works primarily with paint and water-based materials. I work in a very intuitive style with my materials and very tactile as well. I'm constantly touching to try and find the right fabric. Most of my work is almost using the water-based paints. I colour, stain and pour. I also work outside in the elements, so I enjoy creating new collaborations with nature, I like to call them. So I'll often leave works outside, outdoors for up to different periods of time, and I really invite the natural elements to come into the work. So water is a big component of my work. I'm quite pleased when it starts raining or it gets windy, and I feel like I want these elements to almost be seen in the work. There's a lack of control when I use processes like this, but that's what really inspires me. Not knowing the outcome, but also being taken on a sort of journey with the materials. In the work I've been making quite recently, this has involved a lot of collaborations with different people and asking permissions of knowledge. So I worked on the south coast in Manana on Yuin country, and I worked with Jumpin' Jimper, Uncle Paul McLeod, who's an elder from the Wreck Bay area. And I was curious and wanted to, first of all, ask permission, but also have an understanding about the natural ochres in clay in the rocks around the areas I was working. So that collaboration and consultation has been, apart from being a complete joy and connection I want to keep working with, really informed the colours and the work and the land in the work. I think the new development in my work is not being scared to not only bring the elements in and nature into the work, but also to bring people into the work. I've made some artworks in the past that have been collaborative and had audience participation. That for me is an unknown, and to have other hands in the work. So recently I've been more keen to follow that area. This show is called By My Side Walking, and I think it definitely talks to the idea of the people that make up the community in the work that I've made. This is a series of paintings which also involves an installation element with the work. This particular work, actually, I'm standing underneath, is a structure called the tree sit, and the tree sit is a structure that I discovered when looking through a forest protest manual, a direct action non-violent manual, and that was a sort of handbook on how to save forests and be an activist. And what I immediately saw when I saw these drawings, apart from a sort of fascination that this is a structure that would ultimately, save a tree, was also thinking about it, what if I replaced that structure and flipped a painting upside down? And I really like the idea of the artwork being something you would not see flat on a gallery wall, but above your head and being able to look through. So there's transparency in the fabric of this. You're meant to be able to see the structure and the frame of the canvas. Romance Was Born has always been on my radar. My real connection is when I invited Anna to come down to Manana, to the south coast of New South Wales. I'd invited a group of visual artists to help in the fight against a development and a forest post bushfires that was about to be demolished. Anna rocked up and she had this beautiful kind of response where she in situ created it was a bird on the side of a fence made out of fabric in a very large scale, tactile, with ripped fabric. And yeah, I had so much respect for her. When I saw her make that, I just knew that we had similar cares and concerns when it came to the environment. When I was asked, I didn't really hesitate. I had already that trust and respect for them, and I was happy really to just give Luke and Anna my previous work and shots of those, and I really left it up to them. I had no influence on what was going to happen with those paintings, but I just knew I was in good hands. Like, it just felt right. I also know that through this process of kind of letting go and trusting your work with another creative, and it's true collaboration, was that I knew the work would inspire me. And so I really think that Romance Was Born collection, the transparency and the colour and the movement has almost fed back into my paintings for this show. I definitely say I thought stripping everything back and making these large-scale transparent paintings was definitely a result of seeing my work digitally put onto the fabrics and in the incredible designs. You can have trust, but it was unexpected in that I completely melted when I saw what they made. It didn't feel like mine, it felt like it had transformed into its own thing, which is great because I don't want it to be my painting printed onto it. Like that's just so limiting. I've always really enjoyed that sort of colour, you know, sort of almost like if you had a bucket of colours and you threw them in the air and see where they land. There are many different variations of things, and I knew that that's what would kind of happen once you start printing and making work. What I do as well helps me connect. I use art to sort of start conversations about things I care about places I love. It's almost like a tool to be able to go deeper, to communicate with other people, and that's why I'm saying it's only a good thing when it's not a solo practice for me. It's definitely bringing people into it. I often ask myself, you know, why is it so important to make? I think it's quite addictive and intoxicating at the end of the day. I mean, that's why I feel quite selfish about the whole idea of being an artist, because there's so much joy in having you start from nothing and somehow through the process of investigating and playing, it's play at the end of the day, and the possibilities. I love that it's not finite. Like, you know, this show, the best thing about having a show, for me, success is when you're left hungry and wanting more, and you just want to go back and you've got like more ideas, like it feeds your future projects. And to have that that buzz inside you and that like itch you need to scratch, like it's just, I don't know. I think other artists, that's why we all can talk to each other, because we know that and you can sort of see that. And it can be, I don't know, it could be in writing or making, and it's not just in art making, but it's a curiosity and not knowing how things turn out. And I think that kind of feeds back into, you know, if you have that, it's a huge, it gives back into your daily life as well. Like it's a relationship at the end of the day. Like your work and you are a relationship, and it will be there for you. And I think that's something I would never give up.